Well, welcome back, everyone, and thank you to Brittany Zachary, Marketing and Communications Officer of Jordan Valley Health in Springfield, Missouri. Hello, Brittany. I'll allow you to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your role.
Hi, Jane. Thanks for having me. Yep, so I'm the Marketing Communications Officer at Jordan Valley Health in Springfield, Missouri. Been here a little over a year and a half now, and I help with everything from market research to operationalizing the communications with our clinic teams.
Yeah, and Brittany's not been one to sit still and has been really leading a significant change and improvements from her background and experience in building a team. And one of those, big projects was a rebrand. And you had to make a case to an executive team made up of healthcare leaders and providers, not marketers. So what was, some of the initial skepticism that you encountered when you brought this idea to the executive leadership?
Well, I think one of the things to really consider is that Jordan Valley is unique in the sense that we are always constantly learning and growing. And so this idea of continuous improvement is built in to the culture of Jordan Valley. And so anytime you really have an idea, there is this innate built-in trust that somebody is coming from a place of serving patients more and serving patients better, right? And so the initial thought whenever we are communicating and brainstorming those kind of ideas is to approach it very openly and with the attitude of yes. And so whenever I initially had some of those conversations, none of them were shut down. They were very curious conversations. I also did not seek out approaching the organization with rebranding. I was asked a question that was very technical and specific. I gave a technical and specific answer to a question, and the result was to go learn about branding.
What was that question?
So I had been at Jordan Valley a few weeks, and I went on vacation. That was, pre-planned before me starting my family vacation. When I came back, I had an impromptu meeting with my supervisor, and I was asked, what did I think about on vacation? And I very intentionally tried to think about something tiny, technical. I selfishly thought I'm a new employee, and so I'm going to try to pick something that I can't start on yet because it's too big of a project. And I said, I thought about font accessibility, which is something really, really small. It's a vague concept if you don't know what it is. And so I thought I'm going to talk about it and what that means. And I'm not going to get a project from this right now because that would be silly, right? No client has ever told me to rebrand a company when I talk about a font. So that was not the case. I mentioned that our font, a couple of our fonts in the style they were, our secondary font is a script font. People don't read cursive very well, right? My kids learned to write cursive in first grade. For a couple weeks, they never practiced it. They cannot read it. Our green color codes, I was working on a form and it wasn't passing the accessibility checker because of the color contrast. And so some things like that to me were very direct. If our mission talks about accessibility and the literal elements of our brand are not accessible, that's an issue, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a barrier to care.
Right.
That is, even not knowing Jordan Valley, I knew that. And I knew it was in direct conflict with the beginning part of our mission.
Right.
So I just said that. And I was challenged to go figure that out and make it better. And here we are.
All right. Well, and, Jordan Valley and Field Trip are working together on a rebrand, on font accessibility and all those things, but also did, extensive attitudinal research and messaging and even a fundraising strategy. And so, one of the things that, Brittany, that your skills is you can take this kind of unfamiliar marketing and communications element and really translate it into business and patient outcomes. So obviously that started with fonts and colors and accessibility. What are some of the ways, especially in a time when federal funding is changing and there's a lot of uncertainty, how did you continue to connect your work and expertise with improving patient outcomes throughout this process?
So every time I needed to do something for branding, or we had a project, right, like a daily project that had to do with anything from a current campaign or writing, like trying to solve for how do we help employees communicate better, I took every opportunity to make it a use case to improve the process of doing things well, so that whenever we got to the end result, we not only had something pretty to show, we could say, we took XYZ business case, and here's how efficiently it was done before, and here's where we're at now. This worked better, and here's how we're going to do it moving forward. So every single opportunity, trying to demonstrate that communications and marketing is not just a pretty flyer. It's not just a fun party. It is truly about connecting people to make really robust systems that impact individuals' behaviors and help really them be able to positively influence their own healthcare.
Yeah. So was there a point, a conversation, a project, something along the way that changed it from, well, this is something we could do, to this is something that we have to do and invest in, even though, some people might just contract and focus on what they can control? We're doubling down and making a significant investment. What was that pivotal point, if there was one?
I don't know that there was an exact pivotal point, but I think one of the projects that helped demonstrate the use case for investing in marketing and communications was our walk-in campaign. So we switched from our former EHR to a new one called Epic in July of 2024. So me being a new employee, around the same time that I was communicating my font accessibility, we switched systems. And with that, we took some intentional time to scale back schedules so that we could learn the new software. One thing that happened as a result of that and people learning was they were so focused on trying to figure out the new tool, they forgot to implement some of the basics like pre-working schedules and pre-scheduling dental patients. So when we started hitting January, our 6-month visits from July were not scheduled. And it's winter, so we're already down as far as visits go. Just it's not a typical time. A lot of people are thinking about going to the doctor or the dentist. And so we decided that we, meaning operations and just Jordan Valley as an organization, decided we were going to open it up for walk-in patients for a few days. And I articulated, hey, this is one of the messages. If I say it out loud and publicly, I don't know that I can take it back and have people register. It only applies to a couple of days. I think once we say walk-in, we just need to take walk-in. So please, let's not say it if we can't stick to it from now into perpetuity. Operations and leadership made a call. We take walk-ins now, figure it out. And we did. And so we worked with operations to figure out the messaging, to figure out what that flow looks like from putting out the messages through when a patient comes in and how do we deliver on that promise. And so while there were definitely hiccups, right? Not every single service is a walk-in service. You can't walk in and just get surgery. But we were able to work through that with them. And so I think that really helped establish an open dialogue of how do you take what you are trying to do in the organization and the business and flipping it on its head to how do you connect patients with that thing you're building, right? Or vice versa. How do you listen to the patient and then react to it?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, every FQHC would be fortunate to have you and your team working inside, but many don't. So as going through this process, what would be some advice that you would offer to your peers at other FQHCs in terms of, now is the time to do X, or here's, what you expect? What's your advice?
Yeah, I think my biggest advice would be just to do some of the things I did early in my career, and I still do. There are many free resources, right? Like the idea of us being a continuous learner does not go away just because we are in a different role, because we've graduated. Media and communications are constantly evolving and changing. Healthcare is an industry that does not lead innovation and communication. We are always lagging in that implementation. And so if you're following consumer trends in other industries like retail or hospitality or technology, some of the ones that are leading the way for those innovations, you can anticipate that whatever happens in retail or what happens in tech, people are going to adopt those behaviors. People do not change whether or not they're a consumer buying a shoe and makeup or hairspray, right, to when they're making their healthcare decision. They go about searching for information the same way. So if I see, like, whenever people started shopping via a voice search and they were able to buy something by just talking to Alexa or talking to Siri, I can anticipate that it's going to be a few years, but eventually patients are going to need to be able to book by just talking to a device. Right? And so that means that I need to start socializing and start finding a solution to do that now and build it out. And I don't need a bunch of robust market research to tell me. I just need to think about my own behaviors and the behaviors of my community and my patients and think, okay, I see everybody doing this. Probably going to need to react to that, right? And thankfully for us, healthcare is behind, so we've got time to figure it out.
Well, it is great advice. And, again, an example of that start from culture and curiosity and the innovation that I've found to be a common thread as well at Jordan Valley. So thank you for your time today. And for everyone watching, you can see more FQHC tips and tricks and advice. We are fieldtrip.com/nonprofit.